At any given moment, the global economy looks massive. Trillions of dollars, millions of businesses, billions of people working, buying, selling. It feels unstoppable. But the truth is uncomfortable. The entire system can freeze because of one very small mechanism, and most people never even hear about it until it breaks. Imagine this. Planes are grounded. Ports slow down. Companies with full order books suddenly can't pay workers. Markets are open, but nobody wants to trade. Not because money disappeared, not because demand vanished, but because trust hesitated for a few hours. That's all it takes. The mechanism is liquidity, not wealth, not value, liquidity. Liquidity is simply the ability to turn what you own into usable cash right now, without panic. It's the difference between having money and being able to use money. And the modern economy runs on the assumption that liquidity is always there. Here's why that matters right now. The global system is more leveraged, more interconnected, and more speed-dependent than ever before. Payments settle in seconds. Trades happen in microseconds. Supply chains operate on just-in-time timing. There's no slack, no buffer. Liquidity isn't a bonus anymore. It's oxygen. So how does this actually work? Most institutions, banks, funds, corporations, don't hold much cash. They don't need to. They hold assets, bonds, loans, securities. Assets are supposed to be as good as cash because they can be sold or borrowed against instantly. That's the promise. But here's the hidden mechanic. Liquidity only exists if someone else is willing to take the other side of the trade. When confidence is high, this is invisible. Markets feel deep, spreads are tight, everything moves smoothly. When confidence cracks, liquidity evaporates first. No explosion, no headline, just hesitation. In 2008, this happened in slow motion. Banks stopped trusting each other overnight, not because the math was finished, but because nobody knew who would be next. Interbank lending froze. Short-term funding vanished. Perfectly solvent institutions suddenly couldn't function. In March 2020, it happened faster. The safest assets on Earth, U.S. Treasury bonds, started breaking, not collapsing in value, breaking in liquidity. Even government debt couldn't be sold easily. Prices became meaningless. The plumbing seized. The central bank didn't step in to stimulate the economy. It stepped in to restart the pipes. That's the irony. The most powerful financial authorities in the world aren't managing growth. They're managing liquidity fear. And here's the uncomfortable math. The system doesn't need everyone to panic. It only needs enough players to step back at the same time. When that happens, assets stop being money, and money stops moving. Popular narratives say crises come from greed, bubbles, or bad decisions. Sometimes they do, but the actual freeze usually comes from something more boring and more dangerous: timing. Short-term obligations funded by long-term promises. Daily payments backed by assets that can't be sold under stress. A system built on rolling over trust every single day. As long as liquidity flows, the system looks stable, even elegant. When it doesn't, everything else is exposed. This is why markets can crash without warning, why companies fail despite being profitable, why governments obsess over repo markets most people have never heard of. Liquidity isn't about value, it's about immediacy. And here's the part nobody likes to admit. The system isn't designed to eliminate freezes. It's designed to survive them by concentrating power in whoever can restore liquidity when no one else can. Which raises the real question. If the entire economy depends on a mechanism this fragile and on institutions this central, what happens the next time liquidity hesitates but confidence doesn't come back fast enough?